Hello friends, it is Nova. I know that I've been on a little hiatus. I was going through it for a minute. I was super sick this spring. So I filmed a reading vlog and then hated all of the footage. So I scrapped it entirely and I've just kind of been gone. Also though, have you noticed my mic is back, thank God, because the audio situation was bad for a minute, okay? But here we are. It literally just needed batteries. I was under the impression for like 2 months that more, oh my gosh, I was under the impression for like 6 months that it was like an issue with it. And then my partner was like, no, we just like literally just need batteries. So we finally got those, and now I will be a little more of a profesh than I have been the past few months. So anyway, Lord, I have been reading books, okay? I have not been on the off my rocker grind recently, but I have been reading a lot. And it's because of how much I've been reading, and actually partially because I ended up scrapping that reading vlog and reading the rest of those books that I was doing, that I kind of accidentally read 2 books almost back to back that have to do with vampire lore. If you don't know me, I love Gothic novels. I love vampire. I love the vampire boom that we're getting right now. It's actually one of my favorites. If I see another vampire novel is coming out, I will probably be picking it up, right? Okay. So one of these was actually my most anticipated book of the year, but reading them so closely together, I felt like the contrast was very apparent. The differences were very stark between one, which I thought was very successful, and that was the first one that I read, and then follow it up with the one that was my most anticipated read of this year, and I really ended up being disappointed. So you probably already know from the thumbnail, but the 2 books that I'm going to talk about are Hungerstone by Dunn and Blood on Her Tongue by Johanna van Veen. Give your guesses right now for which one was the good one and which one was the bad one. Because without further ado, all right, the great one that I read first, Hungerstone by Dunn. It really ended up being surprisingly good. And then, unfortunately, genuinely my most anticipated read of this year, because I loved her debut last year, My Darling Dreadful Thing, Blood on Her Tongue. I literally got this the second it came out. It's like this edition. Like, I got it the second it came out because I was so excited. So trust me when I say I am devastated that I did not find this successful. But let's dive into why. I really want to talk about why, because the differences to me are so apparent. To give you a little bit of an idea, both of these books are attempting to be kind of a good for her moment packaged in vampiric mythology, right? So Hungerstone is actually a retelling of Carmilla, which if you don't know is like the OG vampire novel. Like, it's a thing that inspired Dracula, okay? And then Blood on Her Tongue is kind of just this author's take on vampires, vampire lore, just like making something new, basically. I think if I was to sum up the clear difference between these 2 books, it's that this book uses the vampire lore as a vehicle to talk about women's oppression, to talk about feminist themes. Unfortunately, with Blood on Her Tongue, I just feel like Johanna van Veen did not really know what she wanted to do, didn't know what she was saying, didn't know what she was doing, and I think that that's very apparent within the stories. So I want to talk about Hungerstone first and give you an idea of what it's about and the themes that stood out to me and why I thought it was really pretty masterfully done. I ended up giving this book a 4.5 stars. So it wasn't like perfect, but it was still really amazing. I want to talk about that first because it's the first one that I read, and I think that you'll see how big the contrast is between the 2 when you already have like this framework. Like, I already had this kicking around in my brain when I picked up Blood on Her Tongue. Let me tell you about Hungerstone. As I said, Hungerstone is a retelling of Carmilla, which is a novella. It is old. It was published a long time ago. I think actually, let me look so I'm giving you like accurate information. It was published in the 1800s, late 1800s, 1871. And I see people talking about how it is like sapphic and everything. That is true, but its actual original intention was to warn women away from sapphic relationships. It was not like an ally thing. So that being the case, I do think that it's a really cool idea to kind of reclaim it and use it as a way to talk about feminist themes, to spin sapphic love into something that is beautiful and not like propaganda away from it. I think that there's a lot of potential there. So I was super interested to pick up this book. I'm not going to give you a full, like, entire plot summary, like every single thing that happens, but I just want to set this up for you and like explain the themes and why I think it was ultimately really successful. I think that's just the best way for me to structure this video. When this novel opens up, we meet Lenore, who is our main character. She is the wife of this man, Henry, who is this successful guy, okay? He's like this upper class man, so she's an upper class woman, and they're living in London, but the story opens up basically with them moving out to this estate that Henry has purchased, and it's kind of this, it's a big deal. They're moving to this, like, fancy schmancy estate, and it's kind of out in the moorlands, right? It's not in the big city anymore. I will say right off the bat, Lenore is not like this like really likable character right from the get-go. Like, she's not. She's kind of snobby, she's kind of pompous, but right away we start setting up the themes of the novel, which are just women's oppression, especially during this time, and kind of women who think that they're content in their circumstances until if they ever realize that their lives are very, very small. So when we meet Lenore, she actually takes a lot of pride in her position, in the work that she does, the labor that she does to upkeep their books. I mean, she's the bookkeeper, she's paying the bills, she's directing all of the servants, like the people, any people that they have coming for like constructions or renovation or anything like that. That's all Lenore's doing. And she takes a lot of pride in that at the beginning of the novel. She's almost content in her circumstances and feels important and proud of the work that she's able to do. But we also are setting up very quickly that this is a vast amount of unpaid labor that she's being expected to do by her husband, who doesn't value it, who puts a ton of work on her shoulders and never acknowledges that it is hard work, right? Which is a very, very relevant conversation to our modern day when we still are talking about the unpaid labor gap. We get a sense of that in their relationship and in her reality very quickly when the book opens. Plot-wise, when the book is opening, they're moving out to this estate, and on their way, they encounter Carmilla, who is like in an overturned carriage, I think, and is stranded on the side of the road. And basically they take her along with them, and they're like, gonna let her like convalesce at their new estate and help her out of their like goodwill. So they're trying to contact her, maybe her family in the area, so they can come get her, but she's kind of just lingering at this place, okay? Specifically with this idea of unpaid labor, as they're moving to this new estate, there's a lot of work to be done for their new home. But of course, Henry, who undervalues the work that she's doing, just kind of like heaves it all onto her shoulders and is just like, peace, like, get it done, because they have this annual hunting party or something that he wants to, it's a hunting party for sure, I don't know if it's annual, but that he wants to host at their new estate. It's a ton of work for her to try to get done in the time, like, for them to actually come and, host a bunch of people, okay? I don't want to give you every single plot point that happens in this novel, because I do really want people to read this, because I think that it is really good. But to give you a general idea of the trajectory that this novel takes, basically Carmilla, in her vampiric nature, serves as a catalyst to nudge women that she encounters into wanting more for themselves, into recognizing that their lives are so tiny because they're only given this much in society when men are given this much. We see multiple creepy scenes of her using this kind of cosmic influence that she has to nudge these different women, whether they're like village women or this like farm hand girl, into feeling so hungry, right? And it's this like insatiable hunger of wanting for more for themselves. And basically the way that their relationship progresses, not only are they, encountering each other in a romantic sense, but it is a lot of conversation between Carmilla and Lenore, of Carmilla being like, well, why is this acceptable? Why is this okay? Like, kind of nudging her in this direction, in this very flamboyant manner. Carmilla is a hysterical character because she's kind of like lackadaisical, like she's not conforming to society, right? Something else that I think was handled actually really well thematically was the instances we see with Lenore of this kind of disordered eating. So before her eyes are really opened, like Carmilla has really helped her see the reality of her life, we see little bits of her eating all these candies that her husband gets her, or like this hunger, right? This hunger for more is sprinkled throughout the book through these really powerful scenes where we're kind of seeing this disordered eating from her. And I just thought that it was so it was just such a good little sprinkle of something. Like, as we move towards Carmilla really opening her eyes to some of these things and challenging what Lenore believes about her contentment and about her situation, I thought that was a great addition into the trajectory that this novel takes. When Lenore finally realizes that this life is not good enough and that she deserves better, she deserves equality and everything, it is largely because she finds out some unsavory information about her husband and one of her friends, okay? And it really culminates in this insane, her just crashing out to the extreme. She just kind of goes off the deep end to the point where they kind of lock her away. But she does ultimately get revenge against her husband and this friend who wronged her in this really amazing kind of good for her type of way at the end, which really works to me because of those themes that were set up, because of Carmilla's pushing of Lenore into realizing her reality. And also just because you do really start to feel for Lenore, even though she's not, the most likable character, you do feel for her. And the ending is just absolute perfection. Literally could not have been better. I don't want to spoil it for everyone. If you are interested in reading this at all, if you haven't read this yet, do not listen to this part, because I want to highlight the ending because I just think it's the perfect ending. But please, if you don't want to hear spoilers, skip ahead. If you want to read this, read it. Don't listen to my spoilers. Come back after. Go read it. I just have to talk about the end. Okay, this is officially now the spoiler section, because I have to talk about the end. Eventually, as you know, hopefully anybody who's here has already read it and knows what happens or whatever. But eventually, at the end, when the hunting party is actually happening, Lenore basically gets her ultimate revenge by literally just tearing her husband apart in the woods, or adjacent to the woods as this hunting party is beginning. She literally physically just tears him apart and then is able to blame it on the hunting dogs, which is kind of hilarious and campy, I feel but also just hell yeah. Yes, she would. Yes, she did. And as she should. So I loved that, and I just love how the really climactic moment of the novel is also the end, when Carmilla returns, because Carmilla left her at that one point, but when Carmilla returns to greet her, and she's now this widower, and she's kind of enacted this revenge, and now she has all this wealth, and Carmilla comes back to get her, kind of, and I loved it. I thought that the ending was so perfect. As you can tell, I really liked this book, and I think even just talking about it in these couple of minutes I've been with you, you can see how strong the themes were and how clear of a picture Kat Dunn had of how she was going to use vampire mythology and the idea of a vampire. I just thought that it was really perfectly done in terms of, Carmilla, it makes sense. As far as I'm concerned, this is Carmilla, it's just so well done. So, unfortunately, going from that to picking up, again, what was my most anticipated book of this year, okay? I don't want this to come off like Johanna Van Veen slander at all, okay? Because I loved her first book. I loved her debut. I've heard rumblings that she herself has said that she struggled with this book. So I really am giving this feedback. I'm not trying to even rant review or anything, because I have done that on this channel. I have rant reviewed. There are authors who I feel like 100% deserve to have rant reviews, deserve to have negative reviews. That's not what's happening here. I didn't think that this was very successful, and I did not like it. But I absolutely will be picking up anything else that she writes, and I hope that her creative well does not run dry. It's hard to write 2 books within such a short time frame. Like, to have her, considering that her debut came out last year, like, I think that it's amazing that she was able to write another novel. So I have to glaze to say that I don't want it to be misconstrued like I'm just being a hater. I'm really not trying to be, okay? Especially because I loved her first book. But girl, my biggest, if I could explain to you what my biggest problem is right now, it's I don't really understand why this was a vampire book. I don't really think that the vampire aspect of this book lent anything to the story. I don't think that there were very strong themes that like made sense. And I also think that every single character in this book was unlikable and morally gray as hell. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but when you present me with a main character who's literally having an affair with her sister's husband, I'm getting ahead of myself. I can't say that yet. I don't want to rant. Let me just give you an idea. Okay. We open up this book. I need to see what their names even are. To Lucy, getting on a train to go see her sister, who is very unwell. All right. Her sister, whose name is Sarah. They are twins. We get a mixed media beginning, which is the same way as My Darling Dreadful Thing was, right? We were getting the narrative story, but we were also getting the transcripts from the main character's discussions with the like psychotherapist or like whoever that was at the end. But in this book, we are getting the narrative from Lucy's perspective and then some letters from Sarah. And I thought that the beginning of this book was the most effective. I thought when we were hearing from Sarah, when we were hearing Sarah's research, that was definitely the most effective part of it to me. Very quickly though, we don't have that anymore, okay? Because she gets to her sister's estate where she lives with this upper class guy that they knew in college, and they ended up getting married. And very quickly, we learn that Lucy has been in love with this man for forever. I don't even know what his name is. Let me see. Does it say? What's his freaking name? Is his name Henry too? Why are they all named Henry in books like this? All like shitty husbands, I feel like, are named Henry. Michael. Okay. We learn very, very quickly. Lucy has been in love with Michael for forever and has literally been having an affair with him. Okay? An affair that she, at least at the beginning, got into consensually because she's obsessed with him and in love with him. Also, this affair started after her sister had a psychotic break after her daughter died. So, right off the bat, Lucy, questionable choices, all right? Not super likable right from the get-go, okay? Really quickly though, I will say, and like slight trigger warning for this, I'm not going to be like graphic or go into detail at all, but we do get this kind of weird, creepy vibes when there are scenes between Lucy and Michael, that he definitely is a little bit coercive, at least at this point. Again, she definitely got into this affair willingly to begin with, but now any continuation of their relationship does seem a little coercive, okay? So he sucks, right? But like, she also sucks. Like, that doesn't excuse her like being obsessed and like masturbating to the thought of her sister's husband right when she gets there after her sister's had another psychotic break. Like, that's weird. You're weird for that. After that, this is not spoilers because it happens literally like right at the beginning. Sarah, who was just doing research into this bog body that they found, right? Because they live out in these moorlands and there's like the bog body. If you read The Bog Wife last year, you know what I'm talking about. She was doing this research and that's when she kind of got obsessive about it, seemed to have another mental break. And now in interactions with Lucy, she's talking about something is in her and she wants it to get out, right? She ends up and this is not spoilers because it happens right at the beginning, she ends up killing herself by stabbing herself in the eye. And then there's this whole funeral sequence and everything. And lo and behold, she's in a coffin, but then she's not dead. She's alive, all right? This is not spoilers. This happens literally at the beginning. Okay, we know, like, I think maybe even from the synopsis, like, her sister doesn't die. Like, she's not gone. I actually think that would have made it better. After that, Lucy is there. Again, they were, like, ready for this funeral. Like, they were literally having the funeral. So Lucy is there. She's a companion to this old woman, Mrs. Van Dyke, I think. Mrs. Van Dyke is there to, like, support her. Michael is there. Their friend Arthur, who's this other doctor who was taking care of Sarah and everything, is also there. Sarah comes back, but she's weird and she's off. Super quickly, Lucy finds this research done by Sarah that basically tells her that there's a being that was in this bog body that's now inhabiting Sarah's body, and it's basically this weird, basically Johanna Van Veen's creation of a vampire, like, spin on, like, what a vampire is, and it's this weird tick-like being that was in this bog body that is now transferred to her sister and is now animating her sister's body. Her sister's alive, but it's not her. It's the thing, okay? But she's like, you know, like, oh, I have all your memories, though. Like, I'm basically your sister. Like, all you have to do is help me, like, murder and eat people so that I can survive, and then we can be sisters, okay? Like, that's what happens. Lucy has this slight moral dilemma over this. She waffles a little bit, but really ends up concluding that this is her sister, even though it's not. And she doesn't know who she'd be without her sister, which is really more of the motivation. So she basically, along with this, like, cousin of Michael's or something that Sarah was, like, apparently, like, in love with before, basically decides that they're going to help Sarah murder and eat people so that she can continue to live and exist, even though she's essentially the corpse bride at this point. Here's where the issue kind of started to begin for me, okay? I like a good for her novel when it's, like, morally justified. Okay, I know some of y'all girlies out there are gonna understand me when I say I have a very strong sense of justice, okay? It's hard for me to get behind actions that I do not feel are justified, okay? It's very hard. And in a setting like this, where you're literally about to murder and kill random innocent people to sate this eldritch being that is now inhabiting your sister, when you know that it's not your sister, but you're immediately on board because you don't want to lose your sister, even though 5 minutes ago you were salivating over her husband and having an affair with him. Like, it's just the moral grayness for me is making it too murky, okay? Because Lucy then just continues to be a shit. I will stop and say now, I'm basically going to spoil the whole thing. One, because the plot was not that much. I just have to say about this, like, tick concept, I do not feel like it was expounded on enough to make it interesting enough to make me care. I would have much preferred to get more of the research and more of an idea of what this is and why this is happening and who this is and where it came from. Because we just kind of get a very, like, oh, it's a tick-like thing. And that's our whole explanation, and we're just going with that, and all of a sudden, it's like Lucy's treating Sarah like she's her sister. And it's like, well, that's not, is that? Like, Mrs. Van Dyke, the woman who's been employing her as a companion, who's, like, been paying her, putting a roof over her head, who still wants you to live with her and be her companion and everything, who's literally just paying for you to exist alongside her, keeps wanting Lucy to come back, and Lucy is kind of an ass to her, okay? And is just non-committal about it, is then like, oh no, I need to stay with my sister, and like all this stuff. And then, eventually, Sarah, who is so hungry at this point, attacks Mrs. Van Dyke. And Lucy, like, doesn't even care. Like, what? You're a bad person. Like, you're a bad person at that point. Like, why would I root for you when you're okay with this creature attacking your nice old lady employer just because it happens to be in the body of your sister. Like, I don't know. It's just as strange to me. I don't really understand how I'm even supposed to be rooting for these two women who are, lying, cheating, betraying, backstabbing, and now murderous girl, and her sister who's like this unfathomable, evil, eldritch being. Like, I just don't get it. And when we get to this point, basically the husband decides to put his foot down, him and the doctor guy, okay, and they're gonna take Sarah away and put her potentially in an asylum or whatever. But Lucy and Sarah know that if Sarah goes to an asylum, she's not gonna have any food source, so she's gonna die, or the thing is gonna die. Not Sarah, but you know what I'm saying. Not Sarah, I think is what she literally calls her in the book. And it's at this point where we get this whole scene of them being like, no, like, that'll kill her, like, da 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 da. And I'm like, why am I literally sitting here like rooting for the men? Like, yeah, get this thing out of here. Like, I'm not feeling the sisterly love and yeah, you know, like, you haven't given me enough of a reason. Like, I understand we got a little bit of Michael was a little bit coercive, and I understand that Arthur's annoying, but I'm like, that's not a good enough reason for you guys to just be serial killers. Okay? It's not enough. All right? In this book, I did not say what happens and why she ends up kind of having the awakening that she has, but trust me, it was justified. All right, it was justified. This, not so much. And when you put me in the position of rooting for the men, get out. I can't do it. I don't want to do that. I don't like that. Okay? I don't like that. I don't like being put in that position, Johanna. And if you don't want spoilers, I wouldn't listen to this part. I would skip to the end where I more summarize. But I do think it's kind of important, especially to contrast with Hungerstone. So if you're rocking with it, stay with me, all right? The book literally ends with them taking Sarah away. Lucy wakes up and then goes to find her and lets her go. She lets Sarah go. Sarah ends up killing Arthur. Or wait, maybe Lucy does. I literally don't remember because they kill Arthur. Then they end up killing Michael and she's like, I'm gonna eat him. And then they're gonna get away and escape. And the book ends with like another like mixed media thing. It's like a newspaper, like an article or something, just to say that Sarah has disappeared. And like, that's it. And it's basically, I think we're just meant to assume that they just got away and they go gallivant and live a happy, morally gray, serial killing life. Okay. Do you see why this was not as successful to me? Can you understand like where I'm coming from? Because I give Hungerstone 4.5 stars. I ended up giving Blood on Her Tongue 2.5 stars because I hated it so much. I just felt like the vampire elements didn't really do anything. I didn't know what we were saying, right? It was just, oh, here's this vampire-like thing, and then these sisters, and we're supposed to root for them just because they're sisters, I guess. And yay, we're supposed to be happy at the end because they got away. Except that's not at all what I felt at all. I don't know if it's me or what, but it just did not resonate. You'll have to let me know if you see where I'm coming from at all, if you felt the same way. I'm so curious. Yeah, I don't know. I would love feedback about this. I don't really have like a great conclusion to this video because I'm kind of just throwing at you what I felt about these things and hoping that you understand what I'm saying. So I would love to find people who also have an opinion. But overall, as I said, 4.5 stars. I would really recommend this. And I would really recommend Johanna Van Veen's first book, My Darling Dreadful Thing. If you like Gothic fiction, I think that was really solid. So I'm excited to see what else comes out of her writing career. This one was just not for me. So those are my thoughts. I don't really think I have much else to say. Please let me know what you think. You can do that either in the comment section below on here. I obviously always check that, but my social medias are also always in the description. And I always say at the end of my videos, if I was able to dialogue with more people on my Instagram and everything, I do feel like I would be more active. So that would also be amazing. I'm just not a content creator at heart, right? I really just want to talk about books. So yeah, definitely connect with me on there if you want to. And I think that's pretty much all I have for y'all. I will be back though. I've got some exciting fun things coming up. So stay tuned. Love you. Thank you if you've stuck with me this long. Please like, subscribe, whatever. I mean, it does help, but like, do what you want. Thank you for listening to my vampire related thoughts. If you have any other recommendations or if you are looking for vampire recommendations, let me know, because I'm sure that I have some. Woman eating Claire Coda right now. I could give you that one. Freebie. There you go. So yeah, I'll see you next time, I think. Bye.